Hello, thank you so much for joining us. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguela. Leadership and good governance are intertwined, and it is crucial towards realizing giant strides in the pursuit of development of any nation. Leaders must place fairness at the center of decision-making for the common interest of the people whom they serve. Leaders must also have good moral conduct and ethical responsibility to enable them attend to the ever-growing demands and concerns of the citizens. Now, the role of the Citizenship and Leadership Training Center, a human resource development outfit, was established for the training and molding of Nigerian citizens to become responsible, respectable citizens and leaders. It was established in 1951 and given a legal status by an Act of Parliament published in the Extraordinary Gazette No. 45 of August 10, 1960. Now, the Act has been modified by Decree No. 38 of December 1989, which is currently undergoing amendment at the National Assembly. Its mandate is to provide training for the development of citizenship and leadership for public benefit, establish man-o'-war clubs and commands, and formulate policy guidelines for running the clubs and commands, and to also encourage and provide for research at the center. Well, the goal is to consistently instill in Nigerians those values which we hold sacrosanct for the prosperity of the nation, where honesty, patriotism thrives, thereby building patriotic, courageous, and disciplined people of character, integrity, and service-oriented citizens and leaders. But how can the nation harness its vast resources to improve on human development and promote good governance? On Platform, the focus is role of citizens in leadership development in Nigeria, and our guest is Mr. Adesoji Eniade, Director General, Citizenship and Leadership Training Center. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Eniade.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. This is your first time on Platform.
Yes.
And we're pleased to have you and have this conversation on the role of citizens.
I'm happy to be here.
All right, great. I'll let you in on who our panelist is, but let's get to know more of our guest. Mr. Adesoji Eniade is a public administrator. He was a permanent secretary in the Oyo State Civil Service. That was between 2019 and 2014. He served as the state head of service between 2014 to 2018, a post he retired from after 30 years of meritorious service. Mr. Eniade attended the prestigious University of Ibadan and obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in Geography. That was in 1981. And in 1991, Mr. Eniade proceeded to the University of Ile-Ife in Osun State for a master's degree in Public Administration. He also obtained Masters in Peace and Strategic Studies, University of Ibadan. And while serving as permanent secretary, he was nominated by the state government, that was in 2012, to participate in the Senior Executive Course 34 of the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, Plateau State. That was in 2012, so I must sincerely say MNI.
Yes, thank you very much.
He successfully graduated and thus became a proud member of the institute. Mr. Eniade has vast experience when it comes to training on management, leadership, policy making, policy implementation, project management, change management, public sector budgeting, and budget control across institutions like Oxford University in the United Kingdom, Malaysia Institute of Management, the rest alike. And he equally attended World Bank finance programs in Zimbabwe, Uganda, and Ghana. Let's just leave the profile there. You've achieved so much for yourself. Well done, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, our panelist is one of our regular. He's becoming one of our regular, Kenneth Inanim. Kenneth, thank you so much for joining us on Platform.
Thank you, Ruth. I'm
Always
glad to join the program.
Always a pleasure. All right, Mr. Eniade, the role of citizens in leadership development in Nigeria. Now, like the focus clearly states, as citizens, we have a role to play.
Sure.
But I'll throw it to you. you are the helm of affairs for the Citizenship and Leadership Training Center. So the bulk of work falls on your decks, as the center is tasked with that responsibility to ensure that citizens, portray the true values of a true Nigerian. If you look back at society today, would you say we're treading on the right path?
Yes.
Okay.
We are on the right path.
Okay.
The concept of dual responsibility should not be lost in this discussion. And what do I mean by that? Dual responsibility is the expectation of the followers from the leadership and the expectations of the leadership from the followers. That is, the expectations of leadership from the citizens and expectations of the citizens from the leaders. The concept of dual responsibility. Good governance stands on those two legs. Nation building stands on those two legs. It's like a tripod. If one of the two legs is faulty, it will affect good governance, it will affect, nation development. So we need good leadership to build a nation. We also need good citizenship. They are interconnected.
Yeah.
They are like a Siamese twins, co-joined, to live a life, to attain certain set goals and objectives, which in this case is nation building. So the focus has always been on leadership. Yes, it's right. But what about citizenship? In public administration, institutions thrive on three main factors. The legal instrument that sets up that institution, the people that work in that institution, and the structure of that organization. The three are very, very fundamental. If one is missing, it will affect the efficiency and the effectiveness of that organization. We have good institutions in Nigeria, strategically positioned to drive the growth of the nation and the development of Nigeria. Good institutions. Now, when you look at the demographic configuration of Nigerian population, you have about 55% of the population, of over 220 million, being youth. We're talking of almost 130 million.
Okay, before we delve into the demographic, of course, we'll break it in section. We also have women.
Okay.
We have the young people,
Yeah.
which could be classified under the youth.
Yeah.
Let's also, pick up with other issues. Inanim, I saw you itching to ask a follow-up based on some issues.
Yes,
he has
actually,
raised.
I had wanted to, follow up with what he was talking about. Looking at, their vision to provide services or trainings, and also to empower Nigerians or the youths especially. So, and I also know that they have a program, Outward Bound Intermediate course, targeted at junior, our teenagers, so to say. So I would want him to tell us more about that particular course, in building the young ones starting from secondary school.
Yeah, the model of education we adopt in CLTC is what we call the outward bound model of education. Completely different from the formal form of education. The outward bound education means taking the participants out into the nature to train them, utilizing the environment, utilizing the nature, to train them, to bring the best out of them, to bring their leadership skills, to bring the citizenship skills, to bring the skills of peaceful coexistence, amongst this youth population. And when you look at the names of our schools and their locations, for example, the mountain school in Jos, Shere Hills, is named after the peculiarity of the environment.
Okay.
When you look at the C School on Snake Island, Apapa, Lagos, it's named after the peculiarity of the school. When you look at the Desert School in Fika, it is named after the peculiarity of Fika environment. When you look at the Forest School in Alu, Port Harcourt, it is named after the peculiarity of the environment. What am I saying? Students are taken out on excursion, on expedition, on hiking to bring out what we are talking about in them. That's what we call the outward bound education.
Okay.
And there's a mix of formal education too in the process. You do some teachings in the classroom, but most of the activities are outdoor, outbound. That is when you bring the best out of the students to what they have in them, the innate energy, the innate abilities in them is bring to fore.
Okay, which of course is the part of the mandate of the center,
Yes.
To create room for self-realization, self-discovery,
Self-actualization.
self-actualization.
Yes.
Now, would you say that people or Nigeria is harnessing that vast potential, looking at the demography of the young people in Nigeria, to help them have that self-awareness?
Yes.
Is the center having more people coming for those kind of leadership training to understand the role of citizenship? You hear an American say American first, they understand what it means to be an American, but do young people, youths, do they really, since we're still dwelling on the youth part, understand what it means to be, patriotic, to have that zeal, to be a true Nigerian? Is the center having people coming like that?
Not as strongly as expected. And again, I want to classify the youth population into two groups now.
Why, when you say not as strongly as expected, what do you think is
That is,
responsible for that?
the response is not as expected.
Okay.
The participation is not as strongly as expected. When you look at the youth population, you have youth in education, you have youth out of education.
Yes.
That is, youth in the formal sector, youth in the informal sector. The population of the youth out of education is much more than the population of the youth in education. Youth in garages, youth in motor parks, youth in the villages, youth in the farm settlements. All these are expected to have that basic training in citizenship and leadership. Because the concept of leadership is not confined to the governmental arrangement alone. And that is why even before prefects in secondary schools are chosen, they're expected to undergo some training to see the outstanding ones amongst them chosen for that position of leadership. What am I saying in effect? The performance is not as expected. And like I said at the beginning of this program, three things drive organization: the legal instruments of that organization, the structure of the organization, and the people in the organization. What is not giving CLTC, Citizenship and Leadership Training Center, that bite is the lack, the weakness in our legal instruments. Because in some realms, this kind of training is made compulsory for certain categories of the youth population, just like NYC is made compulsory for Nigerian university graduates and HND holders. But what about the youth population that don't have the opportunity of going beyond school start, of going beyond OND, or even going beyond the primary school education, the basic education? What happens to them?
Okay, so, okay, yes, from this point, now looking at the level of awareness,
Yes.
Would you say that you have visibility, across Nigeria? Do people know exactly what you're doing? Do they know where your offices are and what you're doing in terms of grooming the young ones, for them? Do they have access, to key in, you understand, if they have enough information pertaining what you do, pertaining the role you play and your duties, so it will enable them, to key in. So do you think you have, well, do you have your awareness is well spread, for people to be aware?
The awareness is not sufficiently spread. And at that age, at that population age group we're talking about, government has a role to play. Look at NYSC today. NYSC is so popular, is well known because of the legal instrument that drives that project, okay. NYSC. So, and that is what we are seeking for now, presently. That we should have at CLTC that legal instrument that will make participation of other categories, other youth population to participate.
Is that part of the amendment the center is expecting that is ongoing?
Yes.
Okay, because a very crucial point you raised about the demography, the two sections of the
yes.
young people, because yes. this conversation is not just about the young people, but since we're still at that point, those out of
education?
Yes, out of education. Now, we also have that concept, or rather that challenge of the dearth of unemployment because of lack of entrepreneurial skills.
Yes.
Now, there's also, if you're not educated, there are skills that young people can acquire.
Yeah.
Does the center provide that kind of opportunity?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. We're into entrepreneurial activities.
Okay.
We train the youth population how to acquire some skill. But beyond that, even the skilled ones, if you don't have the expected virtues, the expected ethics, the expected orientation, if you have all the money, all the skills, the businesses might be lost.
Yeah.
It might be lost. So having that value orientation is very, very key. It's very, very germane, for the youth population to thrive in whatever endeavor they choose to go in, along with. So, and that is why we have Citizenship and Leadership Training Center, to develop the values, the ethical standards in the youth population, value orientation and reorientation for those who have lost their track, to bring them back on the right track. So that is why CLTC has been there. We have been involved in the past. CLTC has been involved in so many activities.
Is it going to be for a fee? Do people just go to the center to acquire these skills?
Yes.
If I'm thinking, okay, I want to go and learn on value reorientation, I want to build my skills, entrepreneurship and all of that, is it for free?
It is not.
Okay.
It is not for free.
Is that where the constraint is? Is that where the gap is?
I think so.
Okay.
It could be so. Because as we speak today, many schools still patronize, the activities of Citizenship and Leadership Training Center. But when you look at it critically, most of these schools are private schools. Students from public schools
don't have the opportunity.
They don't. So what we are trying to promote now, that there should be a legal instrument in place that will make it compulsory for the youth population to participate in the program under the sponsorship maybe of the federal government, or the state governments, and even the local governments.
Yes, so there's one particular group, that seem to be neglected sometimes. That's the physically challenged persons. How do you mainstream them, to be part of this program, this leadership training and citizenship training, especially, those who are visually impaired, those who are hard at hearing? How do you mainstream them to bring them on board, so that now that everybody's talking about inclusivity.
Yes.
Yes. How
Yes.
do you?
We are not too much into that for now, I must confess.
Okay.
But we are working towards that.
Okay.
So that all categories of the youth population will have the opportunity, to participate in that program. You see, like I said earlier on, nations are built on good citizenship and good leadership. And this must be imbibed right from that tender age, right from that youthful age. Like Yorubas will say, it's hard to bend a dry fish. In their formative ages, when they imbibe all these cultures, all these virtues, it will be difficult for them to depart from it when they grow up, when they assume the position of leadership, at the latter, stage of life. So nation building, like I said, is critical, but we need good citizenship, good leadership to drive it.
Okay, and acquisition of leadership techniques, of course, requires capacity building.
Yeah.
Now, let's beam our searchlight on the inner workings, talking about the structure of the center. In the area of infrastructure, does the center have the capacity to contain what you want to give out, for the trainings and retrainings and, bringing all sections of people across?
Sure,
okay.
We have. Presently, we have. And don't forget the fact that organizations are organic too. Organizations grow.
When I read about your mandate, you also train security personnel.
Sure.
Yes, for the
sure. It's even beyond man o' war.
Okay.
Commands.
Graduates, or let me say, cadets of Nigerian Army are not commissioned without passing through the center.
So do you have that capacity? That's
yes, the capacity is there, but we'll keep building on the capacity. Presently, the structure of the center is a bit deficient for the needs of Nigeria. We are present in only 10 states in Nigeria, and whereas we have 36 states.
And the FCT.
And the FCT. So we need that spread. We need that national outlook, to effectively play that role, meet the mandates, given to us, by the federal government. So by God's grace, by the time that bill is finally passed, and assented to by Mr. President, CLTC will come out with a new life. And I'm very, very happy that this is going to be. And I'm sure the Nigerian youth population will be very, very happy, with this present arrangement we are talking about. Because it will give them even the sense of belonging, the sense of participation, the sense of benefiting from government programs and activities.
So is it as a result of the laws that have not been passed that other states have not keyed in? Or do they have anything preventing them from keying into the program?
No. The schools in the states are federal government-owned schools.
Okay.
They are schools of the center. We have schools.
Okay.
They are schools of the center. Peopled by federal civil servants.
So we need to build more schools.
We need to establish, not even build now.
Okay.
We need to establish more schools. And we need the how do I call it now? The cooperation and collaboration with state governments, to enable this happen. After all, the youth population that will be benefiting from these programs are going to be youths of those states where the schools are well established.
So are you already spreading your tentacles, reaching out to the state governments before the bill is passed?
We are already doing that.
Okay.
We are already doing that.
What's the synergy you're getting from them?
Oh, it's positive.
Okay.
It's positive. Any moment from now, I'll be meeting the man in charge of the Governors Forum. He's trying to slate a program, a meeting for us, so that we can have a discussion with the Governors Forum, with the possibility of partnering with the center, to further promote citizenship and leadership training at the state level, even at the local government level.
Mr. Eniade, you make it sound like it's just in the structure aspect. You can't build a structure without funds. You need funds. And you've not mentioned funds as part of your constraint.
You see, for me, funding is not as important.
Really?
Yes. As activities thrives, funding will be attracted. Funds will come. Funds will come. The most important thing, like I said, is the legal instrument.
Okay.
Once you have the legal instrument, you have the structure, and you have the personnel, the professionals working within the system. Other things will fall in place. Donor agencies will be attracted. Federal government will be more interested in the program. State governments will participate. Even local governments will contribute. Philanthropic individuals too will be ready to sponsor, the youth population on such programs. So funding is not the issue now.
Okay.
We need that legal instrument in place, to kickstart the process as we want it to be.
Okay, let's dwell a little in looking at productivity. Yes, you do have a mechanism of, a feedback mechanism of monitoring your activities, monitoring how the impact of your trainings, looking at, for instance, now we have drug abuse, substance abuses, among the youths, So when you look at the training and advocacies, you have put out there and what is happening in our society now, would you say you have really done much?
Well, we haven't done much because the situation in the country today, especially amongst the youth population, taking into consideration the youthful exuberances all over the place, is not reflecting. And like I said, there's need to be more focus, more drive in citizenship and leadership training programs and activities. It will reflect. Look at the NSAS, problem we have in Nigeria about 1 or 2 years ago. The brilliant minds among the youth population initiated the program just to express their displeasure then. But it was hijacked by the same group of youth population, but those that are not exposed to this kind of training we're talking about. Lack of patriotism, lack of self-belief, lack of, the belief in the country you are. So all these things are missing. So we need it to bring it back into the youth population. And you cannot do it without the youth population being trained, being exposed to the training programs.
Exactly.
All right, Mr. Eniade, let's take a break. We'll pick up with this conversation when we come back. Please stay tuned.
Thank you.
What are we doing as a nation to, first of all, settle our teeming populace, especially the
NTA's political package with a third eye on the nation's political scene? I am Fisa Ogunfuyi. Welcome.
You have to be very careful giving space to people who are obviously sponsored to further the agenda of some other groups.
There's a lot of questions. A lot of questions in a closed door sessions. Some of these issues, some of the problems bedeviling their
In fact, between June 1st and July 17, 19-point-something billion has left the coffers of the NDDC.
I can say my constituency, they need everything because we don't have anything.
A method for digital literacy is a bot that you can use, you can interact to learn more about digital literacy.
Hello, it's our pleasure to have you join us on platform. I'm Ruth Aguwele.
What is the yardstick
for measuring everybody's moral integrity. It's critical at this point in time.
How daunting has that been for the Institute in getting them abreast with all the legislative procedures?
The fact remains that one training workshop is not enough.
Glad to have you there. The conversation is on the role of citizens in leadership development in Nigeria. Mr. Eniade, just before we took that break, I was going to ask you about collaboration you're having with the NYSC.
Oh, sure.
Because during orientation programs, you know, they get to teach them on entrepreneurial skills. That is something that was introduced some years back, and we're seeing the positive aspect of that. So is the center also teaching these youths when they go to camps, you know, on leadership qualities and citizenship?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do. In actual fact, in all the orientation programs of the National Youth Service Corps, citizenship and leadership training are active, or is active, so to say. We have our officers posted to all the orientation camps during the orientation period, you know, for these activities we are talking about.
Okay.
You know, so it's embedded in the program, in the orientation program of National Youth Corps, the leadership and citizenship training.
What's the impact you've gotten over time?
Oh, for NYSC to even keep asking CLTC to come back is an indication that is a necessary training program needed to add the value to the orientation programs of the National Youth, you know, Service Corps, you know, participants. And not only that alone, our man o' war boys and girls also participate, you know, during the orientation camp, you know, of the youth corps.
Okay.
So there's a very strong collaboration and cooperation too,
okay,
between NYSC.
I like the cooperation.
And, you know, CLTC.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I also understand that some of your courses are done online.
Yeah.
Yes. So how do you get the locals, you know, participate, especially youth? Now we're talking about youths who are in the rural areas who may not be, you know, very efficient with the internet platforms and all of that. So how do you get them participate in this online training?
Well, we have an online school, you know, through which the youth population we're talking about, you know, can participate in our programs. And beyond that, we have what we call our mobile school that takes our program, our training activities to the end users. You know, they are not all expected to come to our schools for that program. Tell us where you want the training to be held. Give us a schedule. Then we come over there, you know, to do the training. So all these things are in place. But again, like I said, we need that national outlook, the national spread, you know, to take the training programs to the grassroots so that Nigerians, especially the Nigerian youth population, can have that needed impact of citizenship and leadership training.
You're talking about collaboration now. I know that the National Orientation Agency, you know, has a spread, widespread in the localities, in the nooks and crannies of Nigerian, you know, society. You know, do you have any collaboration with National Orientation Agency in order to get to these points we are talking about now?
We need it, and we are pursuing it. For now, the collaboration, I must confess, is not there.
Okay.
Of recent, I met the Director General of National Orientation Agency, and we have even agreed to sit down to work together. Even at the ministerial level, the Honorable Minister for Youth Development, Dr. Jamil Abiel Ibrahim, you know, is looking forward to that collaboration with, you know, a counterpart minister, you know, in charge of information, you know, to further drive this project. NOA is not to train. You know, we are to train. But in training and in dissemination of information about government activities and program, you know, there's that common ground where NOA and CLTC can come together. So we are looking forward to that. And in governance, in public sector management, you know, there shouldn't be silo mentality. Silo mentality. What do I mean by silo? A silo is where you store grains and whatever. Yes. You know, there should be collaboration, there should be cooperation, you know, for effectiveness and efficiency in delivery of public goods and services by agencies and ministries assigned to do so. And even when you have your silos, you should create windows, you should create doors, so that even in your silos, you can peep out to see what others are doing, to benchmark, you know, best practices, so that you can bring that into your own domain. So for effectiveness of public administration, of public sector management in Nigeria, we need more of collaboration among government agencies, ministries, and departments.
Especially the NOA, because you share the values, talking about value reorientation, you share that in common. But I'd like to know, is there a provision for women training? Does the center provide that?
Yes, we even have a school dedicated, you know, for women training. We call it Women Development Center. It's in Otuje in Delta State. But the school, though, is in that location. We take our services to everywhere. I think late last year, the National Council for Women Development took about 300 women to see school at Apapa, Lagos, where the trainers from Otuje met them to carry out the training program for the women. So we are collaborating with National Council for Women's Societies in Nigeria to further, you know, propagate the concept of good citizenship, good leadership amongst the women folk. So we cater for the women and the girl child, you know, within the system.
How does one access these services? You know, for instance, if I want to participate, do I go to an online or website, or how do I get information? How do you know, get people to know that such training is happening at a particular place so that people could, you know, participate?
You see, our programs, we don't have a calendar to say we want to train. No.
Okay.
The participants, the schools, the institutions will come to us, right? And we take them on that training schedule.
But you have a website.
Oh, we have a website.
Okay.
We have a website. www.cltc.nigeria. We have it. We have organizations like EFCC, ICPC, the police, NIA,
civil servants,
public servants. Don't let me use civil servants now. Public servants, you know, coming for our programs, and we need more of it. You see, for public servants, our own idea is that even before the confirmation of a newly recruited public servant into the public service of Nigeria, he or she must have undergone a training program in citizenship and leadership during the probation period before the confirmation of service, confirmation of appointment, so that that person will be better prepared. And in the good old days, from records, promotions are even tied to participation in citizenship and leadership training. But all this, you know, culture over the time has been eroded, which you are trying to, you know, bring back into the system.
Now, before we wait for the process, or rather while we're waiting for the process for the amendment and the passage of the amendment of the Act, and then before we wait for the process to begin, talking about building a stronger structure where the center will be spread across the 36 states and the FCT. In the meantime, what I want to believe Kenneth has been hampering on is that awareness. You have to take it a bit further. This is one platform for awareness we're creating.
Definitely.
Because
and I want to appreciate NTA for this opportunity.
Our pleasure. Now, the center has been in existence for 70 years, and
over 70
a lot of people, a lot of Nigerians, you'll be surprised, Mr. Eniade, have not heard of it. So this is where we're asking, what strategy would you adopt now to ensure that you're letting people know why the structure that is on ground or in process, it's building up?
Yes, we are going on advocacy drive.
Okay.
We are doing that with the media houses, and we are starting with Nigerian Television Authority. And again, I want to appreciate the management of NTA for giving us this opportunity, even using this platform, to let Nigerians know about CLTC. Over the years, the popularity, the relevance of the institution dwindled over the years. It's like we are trying to reawaken it, like a sleeping giant, because it's needed. This organization is needed, in the development of Nigeria. So we'll do it. I'll be visiting, some other media houses, even in a drive for collaboration,
Can as well do jingle.
Yes, we do jingles, we do advertisements, we engage in the social media to take this information to the youth population.
Because this is about the image of Nigeria.
Yes.
The kind of leaders you're building, the kind of mindset, when we're talking patriotism, integrity, selflessness for one's country, it says a lot.
It says
a lot.
It says, and it can't, you cannot even quantify it, the importance of what, we're talking about. So it's a huge challenge for us, and we are up to the task. But again, for an organization to thrive, you need a legal instrument that will give you the enabling power, so to say, to do what you intend.
That's the legal backing.
The legal backing is very, very crucial. It's very, very critical. It's very, very essential. Without it, most of the organizations that thrive, they thrive on that legal, instrument, the enablement. But without it, you cannot.
Okay, so while we wait for this legal instrument, we also need to be doing something, just like you are saying.
Yes.
Okay, I also want to know, your center, trains Nigerians to become self-reliant, to have the love of the fatherland, to be patriotic.
Patriotism, yeah.
Yes, and all of that. I know you have your, maybe your, what I say, curriculum or laid down.
We have a curriculum.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Now, have you also considered, maybe going for maybe a survey to fill the pulse, of Nigerians or youth especially, to know how they feel? Because sometimes you may have your curriculum, but it might not align with the current realities. So do you have a way of feeling the pulse of the youth in order to know how they feel about this, their country, their fatherland, which you are trying to, train them to love and also to respect?
Over the years, there's been a gradual disconnect. Disconnect, especially amongst the youth population and the leadership.
Okay.
And that is what is critical in what we're talking about.
Okay.
The issue of trust.
Yes.
Is very, very critical and essential. The trust must be built up. The confidence in leadership must be built up. And just like Riley said, the youth population must see these institutions working and even working for them. And that is what we are trying to, to achieve. At the ministerial level, like I said, our agency is supervised by the Federal Ministry of Youth Development. Even at the National Assembly level, the leadership of the Senate, the youth, committee, and the youth committee in the Federal House of Assembly. So all of us are working together as a team to ensure that this dream, comes to reality. Even the bill I'm talking about is sponsored by the Chairman House Committee on Youth Development in the Federal House Honorable Etin Martins, is the one that has sponsored the bill. And it has enjoyed the first reading. We're waiting for the second reading, then the public hearing. And at the public hearing, we solicit for the support of Nigerians to make these institutions come alive for the benefit of Nigerian youth population. Some time ago, one of my directors was on a trip to Lagos for a man-o-war program. And she carried a folder with the inscription of man-o-war. And one of the immigration officers at the airport saw her. Madam, we need you. We need you in our schools. In the 60s, 70s, you see the youth population, the children, in Boy Scout uniform, Girls Guild uniform, Boys Brigade uniform. The culture is lost. And that is what we want to use the platform of man-o-war to revive, to bring back the culture of volunteerism. The present thing in Nigeria today amongst the youth population is, what is in it for me? It is not what I can give to it. So all these things we want to revive within the youth population. It's not late. By the time we do it for the next 5-10 years, there will be a critical change.
Okay.
Amongst the youth population in Nigeria.
All right. Just as we're trying to round off this conversation, you didn't talk about the aspect of community engagement for the citizenship and leadership training.
Yes.
The aspect of community engagement is very crucial.
It is.
And also community leaders, religious leaders, because these are national values we're talking about.
Yes.
And leadership is sacrosanct to every strata of society.
The motto of man-o-war, build a man, build a community. So we believe strongly in community engagement. Incidentally, though the structure of our training schools is not reflecting the national structure, but we have the presence of man-o-war in the 774 local governments of Nigeria. We have our boys there, and they are promoting this, community and communal, development. They participate in it. So, like Riley advised and said now, we're going to dwell more in the issue of community engagement. We meet the community leaders. We encourage them to allow their children to participate in these volunteer activities, so that in them it's going to be beneficial. Look at man-o-war, for example. An average Nigeria fears anybody in uniform. And even while in school, those of us that are in uniform, even amongst the population of the school, there's a respect given to those in that uniform. So what we are saying is that the more we have our youths participating in these activities, the more we have in them the spirit of patriotism we're talking about, perseverance, endurance, peaceful coexistence, co-living, in Nigeria. So we need all these organizations.
And that indeed will shun societal ills or vices that we see has become the order of the day. Thank you so much, Mr. Adesoji Eniade. Thank you so much. He's the Director General of Citizenship and Leadership Training Center. Wish you the best. We'll keep our eyes to developments of the center. We'll see how events unfold, and we hope that Nigerians, especially young people, benefit from what you have to offer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Kenneth Inanim, our correspondent. And did I mention that Kenneth is our correspondent for anything orientation in NTA? So thank you so much for your contribution on the platform.
Thank you.
All right, the conversation has been on the role of citizens on leadership development, or rather for leadership development in Nigeria. And there's a whole lot you can do as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You need to reawaken that value reorientation, patriotism, selflessness. Let's stand united as one, and let's be conscious that Nigeria comes first. I'm Ruth Aguwele, and that's Platform.